Hello everybody, Bradley Sward here, the PacProf, and with the new release of GameMaker Studio version 2, I figure I'd make a short video today kind of showing my second impressions of the software and hopefully not swearing too much along the way with all the changes that have been put in place. I come from a background where I've had 10 years with the software. I came out of 2005, 2006. I took a course over at DePaul University that's where I got introduced to GameMaker, and from there I've been using pretty much the same software ever since. So this is a major upgrade, uh, pretty much the only upgrade in the last 10 years. So I'm pretty interested to see how it all works out for a pretty simple game. And the game I chose is something we did in class in this last week. It's called Boxxle or Sokoban or anything like that, and the only version of this game that I have like in physical copy, hard copy form is Sokomania for the Atari Lynx. But of course everybody has a copy of that, so I really don't need to show that off or anything. We're going to go to it. So if you're not familiar with the Boxxle game, I highly recommend you go over and find a different YouTube video that shows off what the Boxxle game is all about. It's a pretty simple puzzle game, pushing blocks around, trying to push a block from a specific place to a goal. This demo that I'm working on is more just for my own personal experience, so I'm not going to be explaining everything like I do in other videos. I'm just going to be making the game and just kind of commenting on the differences between version 1 that I'm very familiar with and this new version 2 that I'm barely familiar with at all. So I'm going to start a new project. I'm not going to do any of the drag and drop stuff in this video. This is just going to be pretty much mainly just code. It doesn't even require that much code to make this thing work. So let's just see what happens. So I'll click new. And as I notice over here, I did do a drag and drop version earlier, but surprisingly, I'm very deficient in trying to figure out how to make some of that work. So I'm going to defer that for another time. So let's use GameMaker language here to set up the project, and let's see, desktop, downloads, delete, and then we'll do Boxxle 2. Okay, so starts everything up. Let's bring it to how I like it here. Move this over here. Move my resources just like the olden days. And then let's create our sprites. So I need 4 sprites. I need a hero. I need I'll need a wall. I'll need a box, and I'll need a goal when it comes to these things. So hero underscore SPR is where I'm going. Let me say, everything is here in the menu, but just everything's kind of slightly moved around. Collision mask is now down in its own little drop-down box, and so forth and such. Edit the image. The one thing I don't like is that this it starts off so you can't even go to like pixel 00. You have to like physically hold down control and use the scroll wheel to make it happen. Like, that's not cool, but that's okay. So I'm going to create a sprite for this guy. The circle tool. It's one of those things you have to learn how to hold down the shift key, and like you have to know the letter. Like, this is like shift and C versus just plain old C for do I want to fill the outline, or fill the inside of the ellipse, or do I not? Like, it's kind of weird, but it is what it is. There's my circle like I've seen before, and I'm just going to create a very simple image, and I'm just going to go, and this is the fill tool here, and I know that much, and there you go. Pretty much if you looked at my head from the top down, you'd see that with just a little bit of brown. So there we go. There's our hero. And when it comes to this is pretty cool because this appears to be the animation window from before. So instead of having, like 2 separate windows, a window then a sub window for the actual image, it's nice that they seem to be combined. So I'm not going to play with this just yet. Maybe in a future go at this. So there's my hero sprite. Nothing else going on. So cool. So I'll just make sure to close that one down and close this down. I'm not used to closing things down, so but I just want to make sure that everything is saved like I think it is, because I've had some issues with the code in the previous example. So I'll just keep on going. There's my hero, so I need some kind of wall sprite. So let's see, edit that. And everything seems to be 64 by 64 by default. That is a change from the previous, where everything was kind of 32 by 32 by default. So keep that in mind if you're working on this kind of stuff. So I'm going to use some kind of grayish background for a wall object. So just use the square tool, and I gotta, let's see, hold down Shift and R, I think is how that, oops, maybe not Shift and R, I want R, I just undo, Control Z, I want Shift R again, nope, this is dumb, okay, R, there we go, so R for that, for the outline, and then just Fill tool for that kind of gray, okay, whatever, I'll get used to it, got another couple years of version 2, I'm sure, before version 3 ever comes out. So there's my wall. Everything's kind of automatically saved if I click X. I don't know how I feel about that just yet, but there's my wall sprite. My box sprite is going to be very similar. Just different colors, just shades of brown. I don't know. I felt like I clicked it, but I guess I didn't. I don't know. So let's see, find a shade of brown that I like, and like I want to point to the screen, but it's right next to the hex code over there, right over here. That's the color. That's the actual physical color. I want some kind of brownish. I don't want to waste too much time doing this, but oops, square tool. Forgot I got to bring this down a little bit. That's very annoying. That just makes me not want to use this software when it comes to art, but I'm not an artist anyway, so it is what it is. Fill tool, and whatever. Those who know me from my classes know that my artwork is about as good as this, and this is about as good as it gets. So there I got my hero, got my wall, got my box. So then I can click out, and then my final thing here is the goal objects. I just use like a yellow, something that's contrasted, like an X. X marks the spot where I'm supposed to go with this thing. So goal sprite. Use yellow, use the line tool. I mean, the first time I was kind of really, well, I'm a swearing man sometimes, and it was kind of getting me a little peeved off. But I'm doing a lot better this time, and like anything else, the more you use a tool like this, especially, for me, I'm coming off 10 years of the previous version, so whatever, it doesn't matter what they throw at me, it's going to be different, so I'm just, I'll make do. So there, I have some kind of X for my goal. Once again, good old, one of my friends, Ben, he would be the one doing the art for me, but, programmer art, nothing wrong with that. So there's my gold sprite. So I got all the sprites I'm going to need for my little Boxxle game. I'm only making one level, so we're good there. So got all our sprites. So then just for the moment, just create some objects that use those sprites. And there is hero that uses hero sprite. And then I will create a wall that uses a wall sprite. I will create a box that uses a box sprite, of course. Come on, there we go. And then a goal that uses the goal sprite. Cool, so I have my 4 object types, and now I can go into my room, and a new addition here is they actually give you a starter room in GameMaker, because in the old version, if you didn't do that, then you were out of luck, and you had, the game wouldn't run until you started and created one. So at least now you hit F5, whatever, the game will run. I did change some settings around under File and Preferences to make it so that my game rooms always start at 1080p. It was I forgot what the number was before. Room editor. Here are the settings here, 1920 by 1080, and I have played with a couple other ones. I'm very happy to see that the setting for, because it used to suck when you would put objects outside of the room and then it would ask you, do you want to delete them over and over and over again unless you change the setting in here. It's nice that there's not even a question anymore. It's like, of course, I'm going to put objects outside of my room, especially like controller objects or things that are required for kind of maintaining order in the room. Okay, so 1080p. I haven't seen anything just yet about like room speed. So I don't know where that may be, but for another time. It's got to be here somewhere. So then, or maybe it's a global game setting or something now. Okay, so here are my here's my room. For me right now, a big change is when I go to instances, I want to add objects. I'm having some issues figuring out how exactly to do that. So far, I've found you have to kind of drag the things in. And then it tells me down here, left mouse button and Alt if I want to paint it, meaning, the global creation tool like in the past. And what's really nice is with this, you can actually select multiple objects. I did do it earlier, I promise you. So you could move multiple things at one time. That was a big pain in the butt in the past, was that you couldn't just add what you wanted to. And now my big thing here is there used to be a delete underlying somewhere around here also. And I'm like, so if you're not careful, you will create objects like that. I just created 3 objects on top of other objects, and I'm not sure how to make it so I delete the underlying objects or so there's not duplicates. I mean, it doesn't matter so much in this game, but it would matter with games, especially with transparency settings in place. If you double up on it, you will notice it when you go to play the game immediately. So whatever, I'm just here, just playing around, just trying to make this a little symmetrical. Oop, I need 3 to make this symmetrical top and bottom. 5 and 4. Okay, so there are my wall objects. Put some oops. Okay, go back in. Oops, my goodness, that's a pain in the ass. Instances, resources, put the boxes in. I was like, please, if anybody knows how to do this more efficient than I am doing, please let me know, because I would very much appreciate any help you can give on that. So there, I'll put some goal 3 boxes, 3 goals, and I'll put walls in just for testers. And anywhere else. And of course I need my hero object. Oops. That's going to take some getting used to apparently. Okay, so instances. Come back over here and drag the hero in. Okay, so there we go. So there I go. So the goal is to take these brown boxes and move them to the goals. And then the walls, of course, are walls that I have to move around. So I can push a block if there's an open space. So like this, I couldn't push it to the right, but I could push it up and down. And of course, he can just freely move if there's an open space as he's doing what he's doing. Fair enough. Alright, so the next part of the video here will be setting up the movement and pretty much the rest of the game now that the sprites are set up. So movement of our hero is the next thing we want to do. So our step process is make the hero move around, make it so that, I know you guys don't know exactly what I had planned out, but move around if there's an empty space, or move into the block if there is the possibility of moving the block, and then that collision event will trigger the movement of the block in the same direction that the player was moving. And then to finalize everything is we'll need some kind of check to see if the goal objects if every goal object is colliding with a box, and then pretty much put up a win condition. And I know there's going to be some scoring involved for like how many steps you take, so I'm just going to go back in and delete out some of this stuff. I think I'll just do 6, but whatever. I think that's too many, but that's okay. So our hero object, say this is a big difference from version 1. Everything kind of feels like Unreal to me here, the Unreal Engine, the blueprints kind of system from what I've seen. So then here we go. So here's our events, add an event. I'm going to do a key press we'll just start with the left, and it'll work with the up, down, left, and right. you can write your code in this editor. Well, thank you so much for telling me that. Here's my description. Try to move left. Okay, so I'm going to write a script after I'm done writing this code. So I'm going to call it attempt to move hero. And the way I write code is kind of like I'm writing object-oriented code, but I'm writing it like the compiler does. So I'm going to pass in the ID number for the hero object that's attempting to move. I'm going to pass in the difference in x value, like how far do I want to move this guy left, and I know I want to move him negative 64 because that's one square to the left. Or I could just, why not? I'll do it this way. I'll just do sprite width. So if I ever had to update this thing, I wouldn't have to ever update it. So it's negative sprite width for because that's the left direction, and 0. And then from a degree standpoint, 180 degrees is the way to go for that. So I'm going to copy this code. Actually, I'm going to duplicate the code anyway. So just notice what's going on here for that. And of course, you don't know what's going on. So I'm just going to duplicate what I got. Duplicate for key press right. And now, just let me say, this is a lot of gaming is tedious. So in this case, it's a positive sprite width for that, and then 0. And then duplicate this now for key press up, and then in this case up is a negative y, and then up is 90 degrees, so there's that, and then duplicate this for key press down, and then make this a positive, and then since it's down is 270 degrees. So those are my four function calls, and then attempt to move hero is the script I'm going to create. So there's all the code, there's all the events. So now I'll go over here, create my script. Like, how do I rename it over here? Apparently, there it is, attempt to move hero. Oh, I'm sorry. I like to do this. I like to make it feel like it's a C++ function, so I kind of just add the curly braces. You don't have to do it, but I don't like having code right next to this little vertical boundary line here, so I like to have everything shifted off. Just force a habit. Okay, so attempt to move hero. So if, well, before I do my if, I kind of have to bring in those variables. I passed in 4 things. So var hero equals argument 0, var dx equals argument 1, var dy equals argument 2, and var direction equals argument 3. Alright, so if I do a place meeting function and I say, because I'm in the hero with hero, if I take a place meeting and I say x comma y, because I'm in the hero, x comma y comma wall, wall equals false, then I can move. And so x plus equals dx, and y plus equals dy. This all, and then the direction equals direction. Okay, so looking at this, like, I know up front things are gonna be a big problem. This dx is a huge problem. This dy in this direction is a huge problem because of the way the width statement works. And I think it sucks that I have to do it this way. But to make this work, I have to get rid of the vars because I have to treat them like actual variables of the object to make this work. And then I have to treat this with an other. I don't know if that's a bug in GameMaker or if it's a feature or whatnot, but I don't feel like I should have to undo the localness of that variable in order to make a with statement work. But if GameMaker people are listening, maybe you can tell me. Maybe you can just enlighten me into this kind of thing. But that's okay. So then to make this wall work, I have to take the box object and I have to parent to it. Meaning a box is a wall in some regards. So it just cuts down the amount of code I have to write. So there's my, so box is a wall, because in this case then coming back to the hero, or I'm sorry, into the script, then basically if there's no box and there's no wall where I'm trying to go to, sorry, fill in. This is not my best demo, but you know what? Like I said, it's for me more than it is for you this time around. So humor me. So if I try to move in the direction I'm going and there's no wall there, then I can move to that position. And that's all this is saying. And this direction is going to be needed when we do the collision event. So let's see. If I run this, what happens? If I did this right, which I'll give 90% odds on, I could move around. Now I'm trying to go up, I'm trying to go left, I'm trying to go down, I'm trying to go right. So right now everything's good, at least from that standpoint. And then now there's a problem because I can't go through the box, I can't go into the boxes. And like I said, that's, at least with my logic, I want to go into those boxes. So I'll close this down. So then this becomes an else statement. Else if place meeting. I'm just gonna go steal it from here. So instead of moving along and touching a wall, I can only move if there's a box there. And so if it's true, and then if that's true, I do a second check to see if I go 2 spaces over, because I have to check to see if there's an empty spot 2 spaces over. So 2 times that, and 2 times this. And if there is a wall, which is wall and box, and if it's a false statement, then I can do the same thing as I did before. Oops, come on. Alright, so with that in place, let's try it now. Come on. Alright, so let's see. Can't go through the wall still. I can't go right through it, but I can go down and I can go up through it. And I didn't put any test cases in to try the other way, but I can almost guarantee it's going to work. I'll have to try it later. Okay, so that's how this goes. So it's this, yes, it's this collision event that will push the thing along, and it's that direction variable that will help us along the way, because otherwise, just by moving left, right, up, and down, there's nothing in place, there's no variable to tell me which way I went. Okay, so cool, this is working for us. So now coming into the box object, now if there is a collision with our guy, with our hero, move. Okay, so this just requires a little bit of fun trig. Let's see, var dx equals, let's see, hero. I'm in the hero. No, I'm in the box. Sorry. I'm talking about a collision. Yeah, whatever. Well, this time around, at least the way I've set up, I gotta hard code it. Wait, I'd have to figure this out later to kind of set up so that you know, just to get rid of those magic numbers. But that's okay. 64 times the cosine or d cosine of the direction other dot direction. Oh, since, well, duh. Okay, since I have that, I can say other dot sprite width. I can get away with it here, so let's cross that out. Once again, not my best video, but I did not plan this out too much. I'm just kind of going by feel here. So figuring out, so I don't have to write code for like, if the direction is 0, do this, if the direction is 90, do that. You know, trig is fun for that, right? So then I can just say x plus equals dx, and I can say y plus equals dy, and theoretically, the box now should move along with the person 1 square when it's able to. Let's see. Can't go, and then, oops. Y is off, but horizontally, and that's because the y-axis is the opposite of what you expect to see in mathematics. Pure mathematics, the y-axis is up. In GameMaker, the y-axis is down. So I got to add a negative sign there, but now that should work for us. Okay, cool. So once again, I trust, can't go up, and I trust that, yeah, so far my testing is good. So then the final step here is to be able to push the blocks all to the goal. And then when this final step happens, you go, hey, you win. Or at least you beat the level. So that's the next part here. So going into the goal, that would have to happen in a step event. And I gotta write some funky code here. So let's see. Win condition, question mark. So, oops. Alright, so I need some variable called win. And I gotta set it equal to true to start. And I'm gonna do my best to find a counter example to say that I have not found a winning condition based off of what is happening. So with goal. A with statement is a fancy for each loop. So for each goal in my room, if I try to place meeting X, Y, and I can't, and then say if that goal is not touching a box, then what do I know? Then I know that the win condition is false. And I can break out immediately because why waste processing when I know I have immediately lost? So if I break through and if I get through this with statement and I don't set it equal to false, that means that every goal is touching a box. So then now just do a quick check here. If win is still equal to true when I get through here, then I know I have a win condition. I'll just do a show, oops, is it show message? Show message, yes, and I go level complete or something like that, whatever. Level complete. I like putting spaces. I like spreading my code out a little bit. Whatever, and then game it. So this is all code. This will work for us. And go. Level complete. Hey, I did it right. What do you know? And then the game ends. Perfect. So, pretty simple logic, or pretty complicated depending on your experience level, but it gets the job done. Okay, so final step then with all of this is I want to keep track of how many steps I've taken. Like, you know, every time I move around, then I want to add 1 to the number of steps because that ultimately is the high score. This is like golf, where the less steps you take, the better your score. So to make this work, I'll go into hero object. I'll add a create event here just so that I can set score equal to 0, because if I had multiple levels, shoot, I deleted all this stuff, all the description code. That's okay. You don't have to have it. So there you go. Score equals 0. So then in my script, I can go back in, and in these 2 places where the actual movement happens, this is where I can increment the score. Plus plus score. So now I have the score object, or I'm sorry, the score variable set for it. Each, sets to 0 to start, but every time I actually physically move, I add 1. Awesome. And then now the final step of the entire game is to put in the hero object, go in, add 1 final event for draw GUI, so you can draw it on, draw it on the screen. Draw steps taken. And then I can just say draw set color, just set it equal to white so that it works well on the black background. Nice contrast, oops. And then draw text. And then I want I'll just say 5, 5, and then I'll say quote, steps taken, and then plus convert the score into a string and call it a day. I think I'm done. Alright, steps taken 0 up in the corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The font's different than I remember. Not that maybe that matters, maybe it doesn't. But there I go. And 67 steps. Definitely not the best for that, whatever this level is, but level complete. And game ends. And that's it. The first time through, it took me at least 3 times as long just getting used to the sprite editor, the object editor, you know, all those little things. Go, how do I do whatever it is I've been taking for granted for 10 years here? But so far so good. Only minor complaints after I got over whatever it is. Only a few bugs. I've noticed if I accidentally click out of here, it like deletes. I'm not going to do it, but it deletes that. Or somewhere, yeah, this will delete it, this X, but if I click this X, it keeps it around. Like, that's a huge problem to me. Let me make sure if by doing that, my game still runs like I expect it to. But otherwise, we're pretty much done for the game. Thanks for sticking it out with me. GameMaker 2 looks like it has some potential. Hopefully, like I said, from my first experience here, just pretty much a, you know, like a graphical update, you know, the front end update to everything. I really hope they added some new feature and functionality to GameMaker, but I guess we'll find that out in future lessons. Well, once again, thanks for hanging out with me for half hour or so, if you made it this far, and we'll see you again soon.